So similar to chapter 4, in chapter 5 is when I'm throwing out more claims, right? And I'm doing it not to tell you what to think or tell you what to do, but more to start to question assumptions. So uh, the idea here really is to talk about some of the I would say financial celebrities that are out there that give you an idea of what financial peace is or financial freedom is, and I look at I try to look at all perspectives and then really weigh them and come up with my own conclusion. And so I look at the banking system, and I think the banking system, similar to Wall Street, has definitely capitalized on marketing, on influence, on persuasion, because they are the biggest institutions in the world, bigger than Wall Street. And I look at, what we're told to do and what our relationship should be with banks. And it's mostly to have savings. It's to not use credit and not use leverage. But at the same time, again, these are absolute statements. And I look at some of the subsequent chapters talking about real estate and talking about how leverage, whether it's in a business or otherwise, can help to accelerate your progress and accelerate that time frame to your financial independence. And so I start to make some certain claims in there and give you some examples as far as what banks are in the business of doing and how they make money. And I think it's really important for you because oftentimes you just hear what they want you to do. You don't hear about how they operate and what they want for themselves. So it's interesting. I'll just give an example here, which just proves the idea of debt. I look at debt as one of those things that has been demonized in a sense, and that has really created this chokehold in a person and their inability to get over using debt because it could potentially help them or accelerate a business or accelerate their investments. But I believe that debt can be used just like anything else for something good or something bad. So the example I discovered, which I think is significant, is Apple. Right? You would think Apple, being one of the biggest and most successful companies in the world, okay, doesn't have any debt, right? They would just have tons of cash and tons of assets. But they have a lot of debt. Now they have about right now they have about $245 billion of cash, right? Which I believe is more than the US government has in cash, which is interesting. This is obviously spread across, not just the United States, but other countries. But they have $108 billion in debt. Now, the corporate debt market is fascinating and how they use that to for tax benefits. They also use that to do R&D and other things. So the capital markets and how I would say the business world operates is very different than how the individual is taught to operate. And you'll start to see throughout the book that I start giving you some ideas around a financial statement and other ways in which you can track and measure your success. But this is a big one for people. And again, this is just based on my experience. Debt is one of those things that when you say it, it triggers a response, and most people's hairs stand up, and a fear sets in. Now, whether you use debt in the future or not, I want you to just question your assumptions and think about what does life look like from the perspective of a bank, not your perspective of a bank, but the bank's perspective of you. And I think doing this really opens your eyes to possibilities when it comes to opportunities that you may have in the future. Okay, so let's get to chapter 6.